There are few art forms that are more rooted in history and tradition than opera. There are also few art forms that are more able to break the rules of history and tradition than opera. American Lulu is one of the great rule breakers. My name's Kenan Malik, and this is the first of two films through which I will explore the opera and its significance for today's world. Written in the 1930s, Alban Berg's Lulu is one of the masterpieces of 20th century opera. It tells the story of the rise and fall of the eponymous heroine, a woman of limitless sexual allure who takes one man after another, and in her rise up the social ladder, kills them or drives them to suicide. It's an ironic critique of the culture of decadence and of the illusoriness of social freedom. In American Lulu, the Austrian composer Olga Neuwirth has taken Berg's original and reworked it for a different age and a different obsession. Set in the American South in the 1950s, at the heart of it is not sex and decadence, but race and discrimination. What attracted you first to American Lulu?
I'd wanted for a long time to engage with Berg's Lulu. I think it's one of the great myths of the 20th century and one of the great operas of the 20th century. There was a revolution around gender and the way the women's role in society, and I think Wedekind and Berg were writing about that. I think what Olga has done is she said this is a piece about oppression not only in relationship to gender, but also oppression in relationship to race. And that the flip side of that is that this is a piece about freedom in relationship to race, as well as freedom in relationship to gender.
Angel, Lulu is one of the great characters of 20th century opera, but she's also a very difficult character, very difficult to empathise with. What's it like playing a character like that?
Seeing her as a woman, and I see her as a character who is not just a representation of women or a representation of Black women or African Americans. I think she's a symbol of any group of people that has been oppressed. And for me, playing that, singing that, and going through those emotions from Act 1 until the end, it's a very difficult journey.
Why are you so damn insatiable?
When I was 12, I'm no longer cut out for this profession. I used to enjoy it. At 15, I got lucky. Spent 3 months in a hospital without a man in sight. Really got to know myself and see things clearly. I wanted to make it in life. In my dreams, I could see the man who was made for me. When I got out, I was no longer a naive girl. Since then, I can tell from 100 feet off if someone is made for me. If not, and I go ahead anyway. I wake up feeling I've trashed my body and soul.
In watching the rehearsal was that actually this isn't about race, it's about status. It's about the role that, the way that people often deny other people status as human beings, whether it's Black people, whether it's women, all sorts of ways. And that's primarily what the opera is about.
I think that's really fair, that it's really about human rights. What is it to be a human? What gives a human worth? And how all humans have that same human right. But to my mind, the questions around race, which the piece deals with, are far more universal than the American South. You know, I don't think this is a piece which is set in a real America. You know, I think it's set in Americana. I think it's set in an idea of America from a European perspective. You know, and yes, America has a complex history with race. I think Europe also has a complex history with race, and you know, in those terms, I think the piece is very helpful.
This August marks the 50th anniversary of the famous March on Washington, when nearly 250,000 people rallied to the cause of economic and political freedom for African Americans. It was one of the most significant moments of the civil rights movement. Much has changed in America over the past 50 years. Black people have the formal equality denied to them 50 years ago. There is even an African American in the White House. And yet, the idea that we live in a post-racial world is an illusion.